Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to the show.
I offer up myself to you, protected by your hands. My dreams and schemes and all I have surrendered to your plan. I know that I'm inadequate. I stumble and I fall, but still you always pick me up whenever I will call. We humbly bow before you. We love to praise and adore you. We humbly bow before the throne. We give you all the glory. Salvation is our story. We humbly bow before the throne. I offer up myself to you, protected by your hand. My dreams and schemes and all I have, it's surrendered to your plan. I know that I'm inadequate. I stumble and I fall. Still you always pick me up whenever I will call. We humbly bow before you. We love to praise and adore you. We humbly bow before the throne. We give you all.
I'm cutting to my own version of Gangsta's Paradise by Coolio, and in the background I'm playing the police audio of the death of Stephon that was happened in Stephon Clark, that was killed, a father of a 22-year-old that was killed in Sacramento. So bear with me a moment. As I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I take a look at my life and realize there's nothing left. 'Cause I've been blasting and laughing so long that even my mama thinks that my mind is gone. But I ain't never crossed a man that I didn't deserve it. May he be treated like a punk. You know that's unheard of. You better watch now. How are you talking? And where are you walking? Or you and your homies might be lined in chalk. I really hate to trip, but I gotta locate. I'm gonna cut off the video now. It's too noisy, but I'll play it again. Even my mama thinks that my mind is gone, but I never crossed a man that didn't deserve it. May he be treated like a punk. You know that's unheard of. You better watch now how you're talking, where you're walking, or you and your homies might be lined in chalk. I really hate to trip, but I gotta loke. As they croak, as I see myself in pistol smoke. Fool, I'm the kind of G that the little homies want to be, on my knees in the night saying prayers in the streetlights. We keep spending all our life on the edge of paradise. We keep spending most of our lives living in a gangster's paradise. Been spending most of my life living in a gangster's paradise. We keep spending most of our lives living on a gangster's paradise. Look at the situation they got me facing. I can't live a normal life. I was raised by the street, so I gotta be down with the hood team. Too much television watching got me chasing my dreams. I'm an educated fool with money on my mind, got my 10 in my hand and a gleam in my eye. I'm a local out gangster, set tripping banger, and my homies are down, so don't accuse my anger. Fool, ain't nothing but a heartbeat. I'm living life do or die. What can I say? I'm 23 now, but will I live to see 24? The way things are going, I don't know. I keep spending most of our lives on the edge of paradise. I've been spending most of my life living living in a gangster's paradise. Okay, I'm cutting to the audio again, and then I'll see if the hosts are on the line. Money is the nothing, money is the power, minute after minute, hour after hour. Okay, that's enough of my entertainment for tonight. So I see that we have Don on the line, and Don, I'm going to read the introduction. Tonight's episode is about Michael B. Harry, H-A-R-I. He's a homegrown terrorist residing from Clarence, Illinois. He is now in federal custody with two other younger men, a 22 and a 29-year-old, who were part of the White Rabba militia group that bombed the mosque in Bloomington, Minnesota in August of last year. Now, they did it in the middle of the night, and they did it at 4 a.m., and they said they had no intention of harming anybody, but they wanted to scare Muslims out of the country. I definitely think that there's a more effective way to do that, even if they have those evil intentions. So I just want to give you a brief accounting. This is kind of like a composite of how somebody goes from someone with convicted political causes to and end up someone who's charged with attempted homicide. This could be true of any of the people who ended up being killers of mass shootings or even killers of their own spouses. But it has become an epidemic in this country, and because he's associated with the White Rabba militia group, in which he has actually 4 of his own videos posted on YouTube, I thought it was something that should be brought to national attention on our radio show. So Hari was born in Paxton, Texas. He studied criminology and criminal justice at the University of Central Texas, and then he graduated from the University of Illinois Police Training Institute. He lived in Texas after college, and one thing that triggered him into politics was the Waco shootout at the Branch Davidian compound in 1993. He later told the News Gazette that particular FBI standoff with the separatists in Waco had galvanized his political beliefs. He moved back to Paxton in 95 and became a deputy sheriff. He quit the job in 97 because he didn't like the way justice was carried out. Then in 97, he became a member of the Libertarian Party, and he owned a gun store in downtown Paxton called Harry's Gun Works and made plans to run as a Libertarian candidate for the Ford County Sheriff. He basically said we have a one-party system, and anytime you have that, you're not getting the kind of scrutiny you need. And he didn't like the single-mindedness of his area of Republicans. Later on, he did a lot of work in Texas. He worked for Senator Kay Bailey Hutchinson, but later on, he relocated. He was in Paxton quite a while, and he did get a position on the Ford County Board of Review. All the local races he ran for 3 or 4 different times, he never won. In 2000, he became a member of the Old Order of the German Baptists, a group that's parallel similar beliefs to the Amish. My church was against involvement in politics. I'm 100% in favor of being against that. So then he became another target of not so much the media, but his life. He took his daughters out of the country when he was 34 years old to a Mennonite colony in Belize without the mother's permission. And in 2005, he had to begin serving not a sentence, but he got probation only for removing his 2 children from the country without the other parents' permission. The strange thing is that his only condition to come back to the U.S. and return the children to their mother was that his daughters could be on the Dr. Phil show. So he was trying to prove some point about American values and culture and why he didn't want his kids raised in there. Well, later on, he relocated to Clarence, Illinois, which is a very small farming community, and he became famous for what he did locally. Him and a few people bombed an abortion clinic, which was later connected to them, and he also drove in a rental car to Minneapolis and bombed. I don't have the name of the mosque in front of me, but he bombed it with two people, and he promised his two friends that he would pay them $18,000 apiece for going with him to the Bloomington, Minnesota, Minneapolis area to bomb this mosque. He also had a lawsuit that he filed in federal court in central Illinois, naming the United States Secretaries of Agriculture and Health and Human Services as defendant. It accuses their departments of violating his constitutional rights by doing the food safety certification work that his firm Equicert does. The people of the U.S. have rejected the Marxist doctrine that the government shall own the means of production, he wrote, according to the court document, and he requested a court order barring federal officials from interfering with his business. So to me, he kind of seems like a person that's all over the map. You know what I mean? Like, first of all, he was disgruntled with, basically in Texas, it's a one-party system. So it is kind of noble to, become a party organizer for the Libertarian Party. But then he quit law enforcement. There were some red flags, like by taking his kids out of the country because of his own personal doctrine and not respecting the rights of the mother. Then he wanted national attention being on a talk show. I'm just going to read one other short paragraph, Don, and then I'll let you in. On Tuesday, Harry and 3 other Clarence men were arrested by the federal authorities for possession of a machine gun, a charge intended to hold them, while the government seeks additional charges that allegedly link 3 of them to the mosque bombing in Minnesota and the attempted bombing of a women's health clinic in Champaign, Illinois, earlier this year. Harry is believed to have been the leader of a homegrown domestic terrorism group to which the other men belong. And I also noticed on YouTube this White Rabbit Militia group. It was affiliated with the 3% militia group in Minnesota, in which there's about 800 members of Minnesotans that are prepared to strike if the federal government ever collapses. And basically what they're worried about is if the government ever goes too far in violating individual and civil rights, they're ready there with guns to protect. And in this Minnesota militia group, they have 8 different sections of the state already cordoned off to how they're going to handle their defense against the feds if this showdown ever occurs. So first I'll bring Don in because he's been holding 9 minutes, and then I'll pull in Ben. Good evening, Don. Are you with us, Gallimore?
Hello. Yes, I am here. Hold on. How is everybody?
Well, just to bring everybody abreast, I'll give you 30 seconds to gather yourself. I just read a long description of Michael B. Harry, who is in H-A-R-I, who is involved with the White Rabbit Militia Group in Illinois and is one of the 3 men arrested in the Minneapolis mosque bombing last summer, who didn't really try very hard to cover his tracks. Like, it was, the feds easily found a rental car tracing and him openly trying to pay off 2 people to help him with this project. And then I wanted to discuss white militia groups and the nature of killing for a while in America. And then I wanted to cut to the Stephon Clark case in Sacramento and also talk about the march in Washington in which there were 800,000 young people and other types of groups, including another speaker was Martin Luther King's granddaughter. Hi, Ben.
Hey, Ben.
Hi, Ben. What were you saying, Don?
No, I was just going to say that was all very nice and well maintained and well attended affair, the march And we've, all these people, if you notice, Dylan Roof was a youth member of a rightist
White
group.
militia group?
Yeah, this guy down here in Florida was one. They're all, we have to really look at these militia groups in order to stop the fester of what this infection is coming down the pike. We're already
well,
in
I
the
did
Civil
watch.
War. Charlottesville started
This Michael
the Civil
Harry
War.
posted, before he was arrested, he posted 4 videos on how to join the Illinois Rabbit White Militia Group. It was a pretty tame video, but he did make one comment that alerted me. He said, even though Trump's elected, he doesn't have full control of the government, and most of us are still dissatisfied with the way things are going. And their answer to the problem is to possess guns and do radical things.
Right. Well, Trump has full possession of the government. It's amazing. I don't understand how people can kowtow to a dictator. It doesn't matter if it's Trump or not, any dictator. But it's incredible. It's incredible how people can get to the fact that a person can control whatever he wants to. He's using the American public.
Do you really think Donald Trump has full control of the government?
Absolutely. He's doing, there's 3 things that he wanted to do, and trade is one of them. He's getting that done. Change the judiciary, he's done that, and bring in a tax reform where he has the opportunity to expand his riches. That's what it is. So, the bottom line is that he's doing exactly what he wants to do. Everything is fine in his world, and what we're going to have to do is conform right now, and then.
Well, the thing is, with this demonstration, I'm going to let Ben go next too, but with this demonstration of 800,000 people who won't stand for non-regulation of more guns, like they want something done. I wouldn't say the country is peachy keen and everybody's going along with his agenda. They had some very interesting speakers there, including that almost bald lesbian high school student from Parkland again, who spoke for like 10 minutes and then just stood up there silent for 10 minutes. And then one of the friends of the Orlando killings, the one from that Pulse nightclub, he was commenting on the news about how she was affected because she reminded everybody on how many parents have to sit at home with an empty dinner plate, and her silence was representative of parents who have children who aren't coming home. Now, that's the only clip I saw, and I also saw Martin Luther King's daughter speak briefly about the 4 girls who were killed in that bombing in the 60s. Ben, what's your comments on this theme and topic tonight?
I won't take advice from people who are too young to vote or foreigners when they're talking about rewriting the Constitution. I mean, it's pointless to listen to gripes from people who don't understand what they're doing. And, of course, they have a good turnout because the buses are supplied, the hotel rooms are supplied. And what high school student wouldn't want to get on a bus with a free hotel room where everybody else is going to be? Who's paying for the buses?
I have not researched the price of hotels. I know that there were a group of students that went from St. Paul, Minneapolis that I heard about on Minnesota Public Radio, and these students in particular were Jewish. Now, I have to look up why they went and what their motive was, but they wanted to support whoever was speaking at that rally. But I'm pretty sure that they had to raise some money themselves, so I know that not everybody was paid to do that.
Raising money and spending your own money is 2 different things. If you're raising money for something that's popular in the first place, It's not hard to do. All you have to do is set up an account. People dump money into it. Because it's in the news, it doesn't take very long, and it doesn't take very much work. But I think the biggest problem here is the liberal teachers' unions manipulating children because the Democrats lost their voting base. That's a low blow.
Well, that's a pretty cynical point of view, I hate to tell you.
That's true, though. It's true. Look at the liberal teachers' union.
I don't believe in that particular conspiracy that all these people are only motivated by bankrolling students who want to have a voice.
You don't have to believe it or call it a conspiracy because it's all fact. These teachers' unions are leftists, and they're manipulating children. The question is that the proper use of tax money? Is it unconstitutional for these teachers to be manipulating politics through people's kids with their own hard-earned tax money?
Well, who's ever donating to this cause, are you saying it's an individual or a group?
It's several groups. It's all of the groups that are tied to globalism in general. They want open borders. They want gun control. That means 100% authoritarian control over masses. And you can look back through history, as far back as history goes, as soon as you disarm the public, the government gets to do whatever they want.
Okay,
it happened with Mao, happened with Nazi Germany.
Okay, I understand your point, but I just want to read something from the article from the Minneapolis Star-Tribune who funded this trip. It wasn't just Jewish students. It was kids from North Minneapolis, too, a lot of poor blacks and several other people. So this is Nancy Nord-Benz speaking from Protect Minnesota. I'm just going to read the paragraph, and you can make your own assumption. The American people have been very clear for years now, said the Reverend Nancy Nord-Benz, Executive Director of Protect Minnesota, a gun violence prevention group that has chartered a bus to transport a group of kids from North Minneapolis to D.C. In all, more than 200 kids from several schools around the metro area are traveling to D.C. We want background checks. We want to be able to remove guns from those who are dangerous, and yet our politicians haven't chosen to pay attention to that. Protect Minnesota and two other local organizations, Minnesota Never Again and the Northside Achievement Zone, acronym NAZ, have raised $23,000 to send students from North High and Patrick Henry High School in Minneapolis, along with Sibley High School in Mendota Heights, to the event. So in this case, it was a gun violence prevention group and the Northside Achievement Zone, which is probably like a community organization.
Right. It doesn't really matter because that's just one instance. Those are happening all over the country.
Well, I'm just trying to give you concrete evidence, not just throw out ideas.
Right. What I'm saying is that the liberal agenda doesn't even know how deep their agenda goes. They're working for the people who are actually in control, and they're doing everything they're supposed to do. They think it's what they want, but it's exactly what the people want who want to control them.
Okay, well, I'm going to have Don comment on that because I talked to him before the show, and he thinks the Jews are running the think tank and the lobby groups in Washington. Don, could you explain?
Yeah, for the most part, the chant at the start of the Civil War in Charlottesville was Jews don't control us. And when you got a chant that the march, the counter march was, not for any specific race, but the Jews. And that's what it turned out to be. That's, what they chanted. So the only thing that the militias fear is the Jewish power enslavement that they have over them monetarily. The Jews, everyone knows.
The show tonight is about the white militia groups. The March on Washington is secondary, just so to clarify.
Right. Exactly. Well, this is an ongoing
But
topic.
Why are there so many offshoot groups, whether Ben's talking about these liberal organizing groups that are trying to pawn students for their agenda, or these white militia groups that are still dissatisfied. Like, is anybody happy?
No, and that's the way that they want it to be, to keep the military complex going. The military runs our country governmentally. Oil runs it commercially. So anytime you can stir up anything, it's always, as I've always said, any publicity is good publicity. So if you've got oil going tanking, it's actually a good thing because it tells truckers there are going to be lower prices. If you've got the dollar, tanking, it means that you have an opportunity to be at a trade advantage because other countries will make more money. There's another side of every coin, two sides to every coin. And the military-industrial complex will be strong, whether it's from, tax cuts or from war. It doesn't matter.
There's plenty of happy people.
I'll be right with you guys.
US.
Keep talking.
There's plenty of happy people in the U.S. They just never make the news. So the people who are angry about something or the actions that they've done, that's what makes the news. And then more money pours into whatever that is. The news is selling it.
That's what
I'm back with you guys. I had to blow my nose.
That's what I'm saying, Ben, is that anything is good publicity when it comes down to military, industrial, and pharmaceutical complex.
I have a question for you, Ben, even though I'm going off topic again. So whether or not these students believe that the gun laws have to change because of the high-profile mass shootings, you don't think their cause has any justification just because it's being funded by nonprofits or other agencies?
Nope. Everything that I've heard from these kids is complete nonsense. It's scripted. Everything that they want already is in place. They want background checks. There already is background checks. They want gun-free zones. Every school is a gun-free zone. Everything that they want is already a law. The thing that they missed out on protesting was the actual local sheriff and local FBI that dropped the ball 40 times on this kid. They didn't do anything about all of the signs, all of the protocol that was ignored. They didn't go into the building. They let the shooting happen, and none of these kids protested that. They actually turned the blame onto the NRA, who's never shot anybody.
Point well taken. I guess the thing is we're trying to examine the climate of the country, and whether it's a big introduction you missed by me, Michael B. Harry, who thinks it's okay to drive across 2 states and blow up a mosque where nobody's there just because he wants Muslims to leave the country, or these fragmented groups that are trying to pit one another against each other. I think the central argument is I believe our federal government especially is failing, and on a certain level, state and local government is not, depending on the responsiveness of each local government to its citizens.
Well, if you're talking about militias and radicalism, that's a subject that goes a lot deeper than what the news will tell you about it. Most of the militias that you've ever heard of, like the 3%ers or the Oath Keepers or anything, if you ever hear about a news story of one of them going radical and doing something stupid, chances are the FBI was involved. They have undercover agents in every single militia in the country, and they're the ones that are trying to get people locked up, trying to escalate things.
Well, they must feel threatened too, because there was only one Minnesotan in the 3%ers who was willing to go on camera and state what their actual premise of their group was, and it wasn't even that threatening. All he basically said was that we're in place in case the federal government ever goes too far and our rights feel violated, and we have a need to protect somebody. And then they showed this guy that was one of the leaders in the group that they eventually ended up booting out because he had some policy. He actually violated the law in some way and got a felony charge, so he was no longer allowed to carry a gun, and he was booted out of the organization. But the guy speaking for the 3% militia was just pretty much straightforward. He didn't sound like a crackpot or anything. So I can believe that the feds are on their asses, because their main beef is that eventually the government is going to go too far, and they're going to be there to protect the citizenry. So for certain aspects of the federal government, that is a threat.
Right, but if you look at the
family time's over, it's time to be serious.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah. Can I mute you until you're done eating dinner?
Oh, I'm done. I'm done with dinner and everything else. I'm putting a shelf into my closet right now. So.
Well, Barbara has to edit this episode for YouTube, so I don't want all this chaos in the background. Go ahead, Ben.
That's fine. I just want people to make sure
that we kind of need you involved in that, because Albert hasn't called in yet.
Well, just make sure that we have family values in this program. I think that if we are Christian leaning, then we need to have family values. That's
fine, but the shelf can wait till tomorrow. You're retired.
Okay. You let Pat hear that? You crazy.
Okay, anyways, whoever was talking, could you continue?
Yeah, what I was saying about the militia groups being infiltrated, that's already old news. They've already done their undercover operations all over the country. They've sent people in to be leaders of militias. They've sent people in to escalate things and make racist YouTube videos, and it's already been found out. I think one of the most extreme militia guys was an ex-police officer who was working undercover, and he was saying ridiculous things. I couldn't believe anybody would follow him.
What state was he from?
I think he was from New York, but I'm not sure. I can't remember his name. But he was making
he went in to surveil the white militia group, and then he became an active member or something like that?
He didn't come in to surveil. He came in to basically set a bad example and try to get followers. And then what his job was to be extreme and post all this extreme anti-Semitic, racist, homophobic, all this stuff, just ridiculous language, and then shoot off a bunch of guns and fully automatic stuff. And whoever would try to contact him, that's the FBI picked them all up. And all these people went to jail because of this guy, but he happened to be undercover. So this is happening all over the country. That kind of reminds me of
something that I'm glad you brought that up, because that's really substantive information that we can talk about. That reminds me of something, though, that you're probably going to like, but Don's the one that prompted me on it. So when Don sent us that text earlier about the show, I have to get to a particular quote because I have to bring up Howard Stern. Oh, yeah, he said, guns are called the great equalizer. So I have to find this Howard Stern quote that was actually conservative but pretty relevant. So hold on a second. Basically what Howard Stern says is he was on a radio show with his friend Robin Givens, and they were talking about what it would be like if there were no guns around and a lady's walking through a parking lot. So I'm going to read this, okay? Howard Stern said this. Think about it. If Robin was walking alone in a parking lot and two men were going to approach her with the idea of robbing and raping her, what is her only option? In other words, let's say we took all the guns away on the planet. Now there's no more guns. I think people would be less safe. Now, this is my way of thinking about it. The men who could fight with swords and knives and baseball bats and bare fists, they'd have every opportunity to overpower a young woman walking alone or an older gentleman who no longer can fight a 30-year-old just out of prison, who had been working out like a monster and weighs 250 pounds of pure muscle. I believe the world would be so blanking out of control without guns. And then he goes on to say that what he sees as a solution to the world was that the great equalizer is the handgun, a semi-automatic weapon or revolver. Like, if a woman was carrying the gun, she would at least have some line of defense. But the reason I bring this up is it was kind of profound what he said in a way, but what I'm saying is if the federal government does collapse, and we do have these militia groups ready to step in at that given moment with their perception of how to control the next level of chaos, we don't really have we don't have a hope in hell, because we're going to be controlled by another group that we have no power over.
Right, so mass disarmament is a stupid idea, and it's been a stupid idea in every country it's ever happened in.
Yeah, I mean, the powerful, it's natural. The powerful to try to overcome the weak. That's just that instinct and part of man's composition. So, without guns, nobody says that the militia shouldn't have guns. That's the whole point. The militia should have guns. And nobody else should necessarily have them in that it just makes it too difficult to police. Too many guns. The first people that
but they're going to invoke their version of what they think. They're going to invoke their version of law and order if the federal government or the state or local government fail. People like me who don't own a gun are still going to be subject to somebody.
Oh, God. But you leave it up to the God. You leave it up to faith. You leave it up to the fact that this is just a resting point or a way station, and we'll be in, it's someplace, whether it's a better place or not, we don't know, but we'll be someplace else after we die. So this running behind, it reminds me of chasing drugs. You're always running behind the fear that something's going to happen and you're going to die. And yes, you're going to die. So just don't embroil yourself in the problems of everyday life and enjoy it. Spend your time, looking at the stars.
Well, I guess that's a good point, because eventually, like John wrote in his email to all of us earlier, or text, that nations rise and fall, and every nation is going to have a breaking point, and we will collapse. But with all these different, like what Ben was saying earlier, with all these different major groups out there with differing philosophies, eventually the clash is going to cause a breaking point. Like, I thought the initiation point was when Gabby Giffords got shot, and the national gun debate was prompted at that time, and since then there's been at least 15 major killings since then. So eventually our country is going to devolve into some type of social mass chaos, and people are just going to constantly be walking out of classrooms or shooting up police or who knows.
But that's natural.
All right, well,
that's what I'm saying.
You can't just leave.
You can't. Inevitable.
You can't just leave everything in God's. God doesn't want you to leave everything in His hands. He wants you to be prepared and do as much as you can, and He'll help you if you do that. As far as I know, He doesn't. You don't go on a camping trip and forget matches and say, "Well, it's just in God's hands," because hopefully He'll make us a fire. Because it won't happen. You do everything you can do to prepare yourself.
But I'm talking about degrees. I'm talking about the fact that anybody in their right mind who's going on a camping trip is going to have 2 or 3 or 4 different sources of matches or fire. You've got, this is what I was talking about with a matter of gray area, where you're talking about the fact that you mentioned it, Ben, Jane, that there's nothing that you can do. There's always something you can do. That predisposes everything. Whether you believe in free choice or if you believe in destiny. So, you're
I think what
to
Don was trying to say is if the country's destined to fall apart, it's going to fall apart. And then we're going to have to find new coping mechanisms to deal with it. And how much control do we have over that anyway?
I'm also adding that's the other side of the coin. Is you must enjoy life while you're here. You must enjoy your family. You must enjoy the blue skies and the oceans and the rivers. You got to enjoy the scenery and the mountainside. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that this crap that everybody's running after, and believe me, I have no stress because I don't run after anybody's crap. And, I taught my kids.
Well, I think most of us do it. We are pretty lucky. Like I work 2 jobs. I reap the reward and benefit of making money, and sometimes I destroy that chance by my bad habit. But we're all pretty lucky. Like we're all in pretty good health. Ben's in good health. He has a younger family. We are pretty lucky. We're not being persecuted every day by a dictator.
But you're a slave to your job for the rest of your life because you, in your particular instance, don't have a real big nest egg in retirement.
I got a medium-sized nest egg.
Retirement.
Well, I'm not going to talk about that on the air. What I'm saying is that I read a story about some more Americans that were trapped in North Korea today, and they really probably have little or no chance of ever getting out. I'm just saying in general, we have food on our table, we have the opportunity to make money, and we should just be thankful for each day. That's all I'm saying.
Right, and we are, especially here in America, because if we're in Syria or India or Africa, women especially, they get beaten on the regular basis. They have their clits taken out at birth. They're ostracized, made to wear garb that's pretty hot in the heat in general. There's different cultures treat everyone differently. And in a lot of ways, we have to kind of give it to them because that's their culture. And when they come over
right,
here,
no, you don't. No, you don't. Not here, you don't. That's the point.
That's what I was going to say. That's what I was going to say. Once they get over here, they have to relearn everything that they did in the past. That's what I was just going to say. And so, so we've got responsibilities as American citizens to help these people acclimate as easily and as best they possibly can. Give them citizenship as early as they can with as much support and love as we possibly can give them because they will be, under almost any circumstance, an American citizen with the same equal rights.
Why did we go from people who are suffering to immigration?
Because those are people who are suffering.
That ties exactly to your topic, Jane. The people that went to bomb the mosque because they were against mosques and mass immigration of Muslims.
Right.
I think that ties totally together. And the problem is, if you look at Europe, mass immigration is a lot different than single file immigration. If it's one family going to one city or a family here, a family there, and they all go scattered across the U.S., it's a lot easier for them to assimilate. But if you move a big, huge group into some place like Dearborn, Michigan, pretty soon,
which is a big Muslim area.
Yeah, pretty soon Americans should not drive down some of those streets because they turned it into the country that they came from, which is totally unconstitutional and human rights issues.
Do you remember that that topic I brought up 6 months ago, that every day now in some city around Dearborn, Michigan, there's like a sound of a bell that goes up for men to meet at the mosque? And one of the white citizens in the town said, I don't mind hearing the sound as long as it doesn't overpower the sound of church bells.
Well, do they really have a choice? I mean, it's at that point, your constitutional rights are gone, and the only thing left is basically full-blown democracy. And when you are outnumbered by different culture, you are a minority. It doesn't matter what skin color you are, you're the minority. So if somebody was just an average Christian household and mass immigration has taken over your entire city, you're a minority now.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about that, Ben, and I'll tell you why. John is right about one thing. Let's say in 10 years from now, 5% of Americans are Muslims. Now, having that many Muslims proportionally would actually change the culture of the community. But the question is are they invading on my civil rights just because I hear a bell at noon? I hear it, it goes in my ears, and I know what it's about, but it's not really taking my civil rights away just to hear that bell for the mosque.
The bell is the least of your concerns. If you're living in an area where there's a bell for the mosque and a prayer over a loudspeaker, that's the least of your concerns. It's everything else that comes with that. Because their culture,
could you be more
women
specific, please?
For the most part, in those countries that they are coming here from, women are lower than dogs. So when I see the left in general, the liberals, the progressives, and they are allying with Muslims in general, say you have a women's march, and a good example is, what is her name? She's radical. Linda Sarsour. If you see marches that she's at or speaking presentations that she's done, she's all about women's strength and feminism. But at the same time, she's advocating for Muslims and Islam.
I kind of have that same issue. Like my friend Debbie Almontaser that I had on the show that one time, and John got in a big conflict with. She's a Yemenis Muslim. Like I told you about how she posts something every day on Facebook about what rights they're advocating for, how they're fighting in the courts, how they feel stripped down. And sometimes, different groups competing for the same thing can end up stepping on other people's toes, for lack of a better explanation. Because they feel like they have the central right and attention to obtain all the things they want from the American legal system, but without fully understanding what might the court's perspective be or laws or things like that.
Right, and then you have to look at your justice system. Is it really constitutional to have a Islamic judge? Because Islam isn't just a religion, it's actually the religion and law at the same time. So I think an Islamic
they're not separated, they're a theocracy.
Exactly, so that's an unconstitutional position.
The only kind of judge in America would be one that could uphold the American rule of law.
Right, and it should be just the Constitution, because all the other laws that follow that are not the Constitution shouldn't be able to dictate the Constitution. The original Bill of Rights, if a law
violates... Is this something that you're afraid of happening, or that you've evidently seen?
I've seen some. I disagree with it. I'm not afraid of it. I disagree, and I think more people should be conscious of it.
I see what your eventual point is that if you invite a heavy influx of people in, and then they share common values that don't necessarily coincide with the American rule of law, it can present a problem. That's what you're trying to say.
Right.
Now I wanted to mention something back from what you said 5 minutes ago. A lot of the focus is on the Syrian influx of people into the Europe, but also, did you guys know there's been a lot of Libyan people that have gone into Italy and overwhelmed certain cities in Italy and other parts of southern Europe because of all the upheaval that's going on in those areas of Libya? So there is a huge I don't want to keep using the word influx. There's a huge transience going on in Europe now of cultures having to absorb themselves, whether it's in the militant. What we were talking about a few weeks ago with Steve Bannon's points at that Paris conference when he was saying, like, hold on to your national ideas and your traditional values. And I don't know how it's going to be contained or if it's going to cause some kind of more chaos. But I think you made a point a few weeks ago, Ben, that you felt like Europe was falling apart.
Yeah, and I'm not going to save them because they've allowed it.
Yeah, that's what we were talking when you said Merkel. I was like, what? We were, and when we were there were a lot of Somali vendors. I'll call them vendors, all around Paris, and also quite a few in Barcelona. Rome and Naples didn't have hardly any. They clamped down, made sure that that the police kept close watch on the immigrant population. So the parts that I saw, which was Rome, and the central, so we saw not very many, but that whole country, and I can only imagine London and Germany that have large African populations, immigrant populations from everywhere, not just African. You've got Iranians, you've got Orientals.
Well, London is so diverse. There's nowhere to begin. Like, London has Jamaicans. They have people from several West African countries who've been there 30 years. I know because I have friends in Minnesota who have relatives there. So, and then they have the most recent influx of Muslims from Middle Eastern countries. Right.
So, we're talking about the Asian population is moving there. It's tremendous, the diversity of Europe. And they are living more or less together in more or less lack of fear, because the only people that have guns are the militia, and they walk around obviously overtly with their guns. Are you
talking about the people who? Are you talking about the state government with the guns, or the local police, or what?
Both, but the state government and the local police, but mostly the state government has large presence in the downtown areas, in the airports, some of the other athletic events, things like that, even some of the museums and churches. So they're the only ones. Everybody else feels safe. You've got universal health care. You've got no guns. You've got employment problems here and there, but tourism takes up for that. So in all actuality, those folks over in Europe are living quite stress-free. And that is what I would like to see a little bit more of in our society, because they're much more civilized than we are. We're fucking animals running around with these guns, Ben. We're fucking animals.
Yeah, you can't.
We're knuckled.
Well,
you can't say that.
It's too late for Europe to worry about diversity. They live on the cusp of Africa. I mean, the Mediterranean Sea isn't that big.
Well, they're living in peace and harmony for the most part. You'll get the reason they have such notable shootings and things like that is because
airport bombings, like Brussels.
Yeah, that's because they're not prepared. One is for a full-out assault, but it's also because they're not even thinking about something going wrong, because they're living relatively peaceful lives. You should see
they are naive.
They're naive, but no, they're not naive, because they're such ancient cultures that they're past naivete.
I don't know if there's so much naive, or they don't divert a big enough budget for that type of gun control or whatever.
They're completely under control.
Russia would be more than happy to sell them all the guns they need.
No, they're
What are you
completely
trying to say,
controlled.
Ben?
I'm trying to say they
What?
are naive. They have gotten lazy. They have allowed their government to completely control them, and they have no problem with that until they get murdered or raped. Then they get sad about it. Those people are so soft, anybody could take them over.
That's because they're old men. What I'm saying is that they're ancient.
Well, a lot of people in England are on the dole.
They're tired of living. They don't want to be here anymore either because life that was military focused is really it's not life, and that's one of the reasons I don't want people to have the doggone guns, because having that is a totally different. It's kind of like the internet. It's a cheat. It's something that gives people or some people huge advantages, and that's why we're here. You know, the Chinese have the gunpowder, and
over 30 million people in Europe died in World War I and World War II. Then they just got tired of war. They've been tired of war forever. They've been in war. The Romans were. My God, they've been into the Teutons. The Teutons were. That's what they were.
Well,
they didn't even.
The problem with their experience with war is they've never learned from it. They've gone through all these wars, and they've had to have other countries come in and bail them out so the whole world doesn't fail. And they have lost everything they've got except for their government, and their government has turned on them. So they have nothing that they've learned from
I agree
failure.
with that to a certain point. Certain countries in Europe are run better than others, like Germany and Poland are very well-run countries right now.
And same with Switzerland.
Yeah, what's your point?
Russia, well, forget about Russia for now, but England is England is a fucked up country because they always choose isolationist tactics that aren't going to work anymore, like separating themselves from the EU.
But that's because they have that imperialist mindset, and now they've been beaten down and they're cowering at trying to find from the rest of the world, and because they're embarrassed, and now they've got to deal with they want to make their own new imperialist.
No, that's
program.
Okay, I slightly disagree with that because I've heard so many failed attempts of British liberals trying to argue the right of the Second Amendment. They have nothing to do with America, but they think we're so ridiculous for having the Second Amendment, and they're just embracing everything that happens to them. They have no control. And they're telling us we shouldn't have any control because we're just a bunch of cowboys shooting at each other. They're ridiculous. Their argument sucks.
The problem with England and London is they've allowed so many foreigners in the country, and they don't have the right kind of secret service or surveillance, that they have no idea of how many extreme Muslim terrorists or other types of terrorists they actually have in that country. They didn't even have.
Oh yes, they do.
They don't even know how to control Ireland after hundreds of years of arguing.
Well, the United States, England, and China have incredible surveillance technology. They have cameras on every corner. They have cell phone and internet surveillance. They know exactly what's going on. And that points a finger right at their own leadership. If they want turmoil, if they want to mass influx people in to change the climate, to create tension, what's their real goal? To destroy it.
I don't know.
And downsize the
that's
population.
exactly
but it's too late to throw people out just because there's too many.
That's exactly why we have what our president is doing. Our president is playing the GOP like fools because he is actually a centrist. He's down the middle. He will give anybody whatever they want as long as it is beneficial to Trump Industries, and everybody else be damned. And that's what is the sad thing about it, is that Democrats don't understand his slyness, his actual, they don't understand his actual agenda, which is the central, almost libertarian agenda, except for the fact that he's stealing every dime that comes out of the print, out of the mint. So
I don't think so.
You know,
I think he's already wealthy enough. I think the only reason
why do
he
you
ran
say
for
that,
president.
Sean?
No, Ben.
Are you saying he's stealing from the Federal Reserve?
I mean, you might
No,
as well
he's
be.
not.
When you have bankruptcies as a normal mode of business, that's stealing directly from the mint. So
I guess
don't know
you're right.
Yeah, no, you're stealing directly from the mint. Yes, when you declare bankruptcy, you get if you've got a 7, you will have all of your monies absolved that you have that you declared. You don't have to worry about paying that back, and that's exactly what is happening with. That's exactly what's happening with Trump and many, and I can keep on going. Many of his trusts, of his foundations, his businesses. He's playing this freaking fiddle like Stradivarius. Well, Mozart, because Stradivarius, he just made them.
See, I agree with you there, and I disagree with you that he is just running on our dollars. If you look at his losses compared to his gains, every time he filed bankruptcy was a scrapped plan. A plan that went wrong, there was no coming back from it, filed bankruptcy. Then he started a new plan. He made money, and if he filed bankruptcy because that's because that plan failed. But if you look at the gains versus the losses, he's gained a lot more, so he's eventually paid more money in taxes than he's drawn back from taxes.
It's still a sloppy way to do business.
Have you seen his taxes, Ben?
Well, you don't become a billionaire and fly around in planes by being completely broke. There's just no way possible to do that.
Sure you can.
I know.
No, you can't.
I don't.
Or I would.
If he was like a German Lutheran, the way my parents were taught, he would never get. My parents would never get into situations where they would file that many bankruptcies. They'd be a better steward of their money.
Yeah, well, bottom line is that he won't tell you what his taxes are, and the reason that he's so crazy about the Russian investigation is because there's something there, and he's got investments.
I disagree. If there was anything there, it wouldn't go on for a year and a half.
That it doesn't matter how long he goes there, because he's been able to divert and stall like a champion. So he's the top notch. There's nobody better than him. And
okay, who?
Come on, John. That's kind of a stretch.
Okay, during
what do you mean there's nobody better than him?
Nobody can manipulate other people better than him.
Well, that's true, because he won't even release his taxes.
Let me ask you a question then. During the Obama, Bush, or Reagan, or Clinton years, which one of those presidents ever had somebody over their back trying to arrest them the whole time they were president? None of them. Bill Clinton got himself into his own mess.
Clinton, somebody was already down their throat about Whitewater and everything else.
Well, so did Trump. Trump had.
Guess what I heard recently, you guys? I heard that Donald Trump can't be prosecuted while he's president. Somebody told me. They said he can only be prosecuted after he stops becoming president.
No, that's not true. Impeachment is a process, but
that's not true.
There is no reason to impeach him.
Well, the thing is even if he does get impeached, it might just be a shunning. It doesn't necessarily mean removal from office.
Exactly, because
just
the
like
Marines
only
have
one
his
house
back.
voted to impeach Clinton, and the Senate never voted to impeach him.
Right. And how much did you really know about Obama when he was in office? Did anybody question? If anybody ever questioned anything about Obama's past, they were called racist.
The only
but
thing,
Trump's
though,
gone
is
through
he
the
didn't.
ringer.
he didn't have an affair with a woman, like a sexy woman like Stormy Daniels. Like, he had a pretty ethical marriage. And
really?
I don't know about his finances. You know what? Let's not put a shadow of a doubt over things that don't even exist.
Right. Okay. I'm just asking a rhetorical question. A rhetorical question.
I
Trump
think
versus Obama.
Obama came from humble beginnings. He had a lot of student debt even before. Well, I heard he had a lot of student debt even before he became senator, but he managed to pay that off as he wrote 2 books and stuff. But he wasn't really a powerful man economically by any stretch.
His whole life is a cover-up. What are you talking about? There's no facts.
What kind? You know what? He ascended to power because of his great mind and his ability to persuade and influence in a positive manner. People were attracted to him.
I'm not doubting that. I'm just saying his whole life is covered up. You get to know what he wants you to know.
His mom was kind of a radical. She went off to Indonesia to try to save the world. So what?
Yeah, but you can't get, this is the same thing with Trump. But with Obama, it's the same thing, Jane. You can't be a second-year senator in Illinois and become president without people throwing money your way with promises and.
Right. Well, there were other charismatic people in American politics. You guys can't remember from the past, like Huey Long from Louisiana. It happens sometimes.
Right.
But you know what? I don't really want my radio show to be a Clinton versus Trump or Obama was corrupt type of show. I don't want to really cover these issues or try to pin some harm on someone who's harmless.
All right.
You're in denial, James.
You're so far.
I don't have to be. I don't think there's anything wrong with Barack Obama. And he had to pay a high price just to be president. You think his 8 years of service went by smoothly? He went through hell and back too, and now Trump is going through hell too by having to face 60 Minutes to the show tonight on those 2 lovers. Like now Trump is having to face the same bullshit that half the country doesn't want to hear about anyway.
Right, but the bottom line is that truth is truth. We have to be transparent. We have to be understanding of the procedures that people have to go through, and politicians have, they have bosses too. And the boss.
Okay, so Stormy Daniels porked Donald Trump 11 years ago. Who gives a fuck? Now he has to crawl to his helicopter, dodging reporters and refusing to answer them, the same way Bill Clinton did about Monica Lewinsky. It's the same scene replayed 20 years later.
And
I don't like that kind of language on your show.
What does that teach you?
What did I say?
All of them have a problem.
All I know is that America's going to take down its own leaders like they always do. So what's the point?
That's true.
Don't be in denial. If you have a favorite person, don't disregard anything that they could have done and say it's not true just because you like them.
I didn't say it wasn't true. I'm just saying that the topic of the show tonight is not Obama, and to tell you the truth, I think he was an upstanding person with high ideals. In the same way John likes Ronald Reagan but won't admit anything about the Contra-Iran affair. But I don't have a scandal in front of me about Barack Obama. I don't have one.
How about the NDA?
So why should I dig one up?
Yeah. Oh, you have plenty if you just see them. What did the DNC do with the Department of Justice under Obama's leadership during the campaign? That's a story in itself. As far as all the other stuff that he did, if you can look at the NDAA that he signed and see how it was used against citizens, or you can look at what he gave Iran, and that was a questionable choice, or the too big to fail.
And we've already covered that on several shows.
or Obamacare,
well,
which is
I'm going to
completely
use this opportunity right now because it's already 12 o'clock in Minnesota. We've been talking 75 minutes. I want to parallel something we were talking about earlier to national protests. Did you guys know that the protests in Sacramento about Stephon Clark shut down a Atlanta Hawks Sacramento Kings game, and the protesters barricaded themselves in such a way that the ticket buyers for that basketball game couldn't even get inside the stadium? So when protests go that far and shut down people going to venues that they paid for and they'll probably get their money back. But the basic thing is that these type of clashes with members of society who disagree with each other on the way like police, law enforcement handled the Stephon Clark shooting, it's going to lead to more violence and chaos. Can we get back on that topic?
Yes, it will. And we pretty much went over a lot of it. Stephon Clark was in the commission of alleged, and he was videotaped, alleged car invasion. So he was here doing a lot of, he had a family. So I don't know what he was doing.
Right, he was doing something inappropriate. But
right.
From what I gathered from the police camera, he was in his own neighborhood doing it. Because they chased him right to his grandma's backyard and then shot him there.
And the thing is that if you look at the police video, he did not, they just looked around the corner and he didn't verify if he had a gun or not. That's my problem with Stephon Clark's killing. Is that the policeman just glanced as fast as he could and then went right back under shelter and started shooting. And then his other police officers.
Right, they thought his cell phone was a gun, and also right after they shot him, they muted their body cams.
Exactly.
CNN put out today. So the police were discussing the shooting amongst themselves. Even though certain media satellites had the entire, they had the entire body cam footage from the killing.
Right, and that whatever they said afterwards is only allegations because we don't know. But the bottom line is that this is going to be a relatively difficult case because, of course, the DA and the police and the lawyers the judges will all determine that the police officer had a good enough line of sight that he was able to determine if he had a gun or not. So that's how it's going to play out. But in all actuality, it was a third-degree homicide only because they didn't verify. It was obvious they didn't verify his.
The other thing that I only watched 5 minutes of news coverage about this killing tonight before the show. The thing is, I watched the video clip. Basically, he was running away from the cops. He didn't cooperate, and that's another way to get shot. Like, sometimes they don't care. They're just going to shoot you anyway if you're not cooperating. Right. And from what I could see, there were 3 policemen on foot.
As far as what happened in Oregon, when Lavoy Finicum was killed, there was no body cams working. All they showed the public was grainy airplane or drone surveillance. That's all you get to see. Maybe
but
a lot of
the lady in the back seat of the car he had 2 women in the car with him, and one of them took video on her camera phone.
Right, and that proves some stuff about the case, that there was bullets flying at them when they were still on the road. But what it didn't show was him being killed. So that's probably the only reason why they were able to release it.
The thing was that as much as I think that was a raw deal of justice, he refused to stop for those feds. They told him to stop, and he wouldn't. He wouldn't stop the vehicle, and eventually he got out, and then they killed him without any warning. But he didn't really cooperate either, Ben.
Yeah, but he had good reason to try to make it to the next county. That's the point. He had done his research. He knew all about the sheriff. The sheriff gave over jurisdiction, which he did not have to do. And he knew exactly who he was up against. And he knew the sheriff from the county he was trying to get to meet with. And he told them straight up, I'm meeting with the sheriff. You can come with me if you want.
Yeah, I don't think he realized the risk he took going on those rural roads in that tough terrain. Obviously, he had no idea that they were after his ass in a way that they were going to kill him one way or the other. That it was a done deal.
Right, like I said before about the militias, there was undercover agents. One of the vehicles was an undercover agent, and there were several more at that protest. You can see the amounts of money that taxpayers paid for them to be there, but they didn't list all of them by name, only one. Well,
in that case, I'm on the same page with you, but by the way, you guys, Albert's going to be calling the show, but I'm still not going to go longer than 30 minutes. But I do want to backtrack a sec and tell you something, Ben. The difference between you and I, whether I'm a political scientist or not, is I know that you do a lot of investigative work and you see things the way they are. The only problem is that I don't have an agenda to always look for the bad in mankind. Like, I believe that Obama served a purpose in his 8 years in office and that he was a good president, and just leave it at that. In the same way, anybody who wants to take a bus to Washington, D.C. to protest the horror of kids having to die in their own high school, I don't give a shit who pays for it. If they want to do it and expend energy and time fighting for that cause, let them. I don't see a black cloud in every single situation.
Okay.
And
well, the difference.
But I also see that I see you giving Donald Trump a pass on a lot of things that you really shouldn't, too.
Well, okay, I'll explain that. What's something you really disagree with politically? I mean, you're anti what?
It's just, I don't like the political vitriol of always going to the same. It's kind of like a bed sore on your body, like always trying to debate the fact whether Clinton was more horrible or Trump was more deceptive.
No, that was just a simple question, though. Like, what are you the most against politically? Are you against abortion or?
I gotta think about that for a few minutes. I guess. Okay, yeah, I have. Okay, Albert's been holding 5 minutes. I'm going to pull him in a second. I guess the thing I'm the most against when I look at the overall perspective of America is that, first of all, just on a non-political level, we have too much civil strife in our country, like people being suspicious of each other. But I don't like, on a national level, I don't like how we spend so much money on defense spending and so little on broken communities, like fixing bridges and roads or supporting education and welfare. I'd rather spend money on people than on defense spending.
Okay, well then I'll use that
Albert,
for my
you're on
example.
the line.
I
like 90% of what you say on the show, but sometimes in the last 3 weeks you've kind of been a little too partisan and a little too cynical regarding one side or the other. Like, let's be real. Everybody knows the government's corrupt, and who's really trying to... Like Elizabeth Warren chewed out Ben Carson's ass a few weeks ago on Health and Human Services for not defending housing and discrimination rights. Like, that was the first time in 6 months I saw anyone trying to fight for anything that's worthwhile.
Okay, I'll use your answer for my own defense. So if you're really against overspending with the military and you have a child in school and the teachers union is all in lockstep, teaching your child that military spending is the most important thing in the whole world. Every single day when you go to work, you send your kid to school, they learn about the importance of military spending. That's your anti, but you're paying the taxes that educate your child into something that you disagree with. Now
okay, I can see that point. See, most of the time, like, you construct your dialogue and your arguments in a rational manner, and I appreciate it and I defend that. But sometimes I just don't like the over suspiciousness of like how you like. You know, was really Barack Obama a bad guy? Like, he got thrown into the national spotlight just because he was a good orator. Maybe he never even wanted to be president. And all of a sudden he's thrown. When he first got into office, people were saying he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. He's just a junior senator, blah, 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 blah. And then the same way Trump, who's a businessman, is thrown into the presidency, and he probably didn't know what the hell was going on either. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but Obama, showed that he was a puppet by bailing out the banks. Yeah.
He was, but maybe it was like the banks have more power than the government, so maybe it was national preservation. You know, we don't know the behind-the-scenes stories.
Yeah,
I know a lot of them.
Jews control us.
So let Goldman Sachs bail my ass out, too. I mean, you know, John lost 3 properties out of that deal, so if I were him, I'd be bitter.
Well, as far as finances go, yeah.
I'm going to let Albert talk, but one of the reasons that 3% militia call themselves that is because when British wasn't trying to take over the Americans in the American Revolution, the 3% militia claimed that only 3% of the population had the guts to go out there and fight the British. And that's why they call themselves the 3%. Okay, who wants to go next? I've talked enough tonight.
Well, you know, I guess I mentioned it before, but we didn't really talk about it. When Putin had like a big conference, and he showed his new weapon technology. Anybody saw that?
Yeah.
No, okay. Not recently. No.
Yeah. Well, you know, he was unveiling a new, you know, the ballistic missile, the ICBM, you know, long range missile. Anyways, but it wasn't a ballistic missile. It was a cruise missile, actually. It's a cruise missile.
It's a substitute for the ICBM.
Yeah. Instead of ballistic missile, it's a cruise type missile which hugs the ground, so it's harder to detect, and it goes, I guess, supersonic. Basically, you know, faster than the sound, you know, from the speed of sound. So yeah. So basically, you know, about 2 or 3, you know, 1,000 miles per hour. That was the estimate, but you know what I mean. It's some of it's secret, but anyways, yeah, you know, and it can go, you know, it can reach around the world and hit any target. It can hit any target in the world, basically. So you know, that's the kind of stuff they were just talking about. You know, they were just showing off their missiles. You know.
Right. And
that's they're showing muscle.
That's what he's doing, and he's doing it with Trump's blessing, because Trump knows that at any time he can have a challenge, and that he's up for a challenge. That's one of the things that you know, that's a part of what his personality is. He loves a challenge, and he loves winning. He does. You know, losers are losers. Anybody in second place is a loser. And so, you know, this is something that he's said, something that he's proven.
Yeah, so that's part of the reason of the defense budget, because I know you just kind of briefly, you guys recently just mentioned the defense budget just a little bit, and, you know, I wanted to touch on that. So mentioning that, you know, about Putin and Russia, right? And so basically what I'm talking about is we as a people, like in, you know, in our country, right? we really can't do anything about the defense budget. I mean, no matter what we say and what we do, you know, and how we present things to the government or whatever, you know, you can't change the defense budget here in our country because other countries are developing weapons, dangerous weapons and stuff like that. You know, I mean, and also, of course, North Korea, they're trying to get some kind of missile working. I mean, they don't really got any practical missile, but they're trying though. But anyways, you know, you got other countries too, you know, you got Iran, you know, they're working on their, you know, on nuclear power and stuff like that, and missiles and whatnot, you know, and so on, right? China's, you know, trying to build up their army, and so on. So of course, you know, of course, the U.S. is going to look at all these countries, and you know, and say, hell, well, you know, they're building up their, you know, their armed forces, their missiles, technology, and all that stuff. So they have to too, right? I mean, so you know, if one country does it, the other one has to do it. So, you know, there's you can't. If you can't, you have to be able to stop all the countries from building up their weapon technology to be able to stop your own country from building weapon technology. So that's kind of a, I guess, oxymoron. You know, it's like, you know what I mean? But of course, true. I wish the U.S. Will focus more on their domestic policy and, you know, better in the domestic policy. But I mean, they usually focus on more on their, how you say, foreign policy. The U.S. is more of an offense than the defense. I mean, you look at other countries, they're, you know, they focus a lot of defense, but the U.S. is like the most strongest on their offense. They're always all over the place, you know. So I just that's something I want to mention. But yeah.
That's true, and in the omnibus bill that was just signed, sometimes you can see a bill that was signed and you can analyze it by how the representatives across the U.S. voted. You can see a clear yes and a no from Republicans versus Democrats. Then you can see that this was in favor of Republicans and the Democrats didn't like it. But with this new omnibus bill, it's pretty much split 50-50. Some Republicans didn't like it. Some Democrats didn't like it. It's all across the U.S. People voted yes, no, everywhere. Actually, what it's done is it's opened up a lot of power to the president. One of the things that might have been funded was the military tribunals and part of the wall. So who knows who wins out of this one? I know Planned Parenthood got a lot of money, but so did the...
you know that thing you just said about the wall? That Michael B. Harry guy who was involved in the Mosque explosion, he had the idea of building a wall before Trump did. That was one of his mantras of the Libertarian Party when he was an organizing member. You missed that part of the show anyway, so I decided to throw that in there.
That seems strange because I can't name one libertarian that wants a wall. Not one libertarian I can think of is in favor of the wall.
They basically want minimal government in every aspect.
Well, a minarchist is different than an anarchist.
I said minimal government in every aspect. Like most libertarians want little government involvement. They just want police, fire, and road or whatever. They don't want big, massive involvement.
What I was saying was that's called minarchy. They want as minimal as possible. So libertarian doesn't really have a clear definition. You can split hairs all the way down to whatever. You can split everything. But minarchism...
Like anarchy.
Right, scaling it back to the actual functions that a government is supposed to do and nothing else, nothing extra. No waste of money. That's minarchy.
Oh, brother. Well, that's kind of one of the... When I was creating the origin of the show and Don was the only fortunate one to hear my introduction, is that this guy started out as someone in law enforcement who was a libertarian, and his ideas metastasized to the point where he thought he would be instrumental in blowing he started out normal and his ideas metastasized to the point where he thought that just doing a bomb scare at a mosque was effective enough to get Muslims to move out of the country. Like that's how twisted his thinking got along the road.
Yeah. That was twisted.
Well, if he was sloppy, that doesn't make sense, Jane. I hate to be cynical again, but that doesn't make sense. If he started out his career as law enforcement and then he went and did something really stupid and he was sloppy about it, there's something wrong with that.
Well, it's possible there was something wrong with him from the beginning, but just like a lot of people who were disgruntled with government, it was the 1993 Waco incident at the Branch Davidian compound that first made him alienated from government. But you missed 90% of the story because you called in late. He also took his daughters away from his wife, and he joined an old German Baptist group that was like Amish that didn't believe that women should be schooled after 8th grade. And he took his daughters out of the country to a compound in Belize at a Mennonite colony to raise his daughters outside of the U.S. with better influences in this Mennonite colony. And he wouldn't return the daughters back under federal court order unless they could be on the Dr. Phil show. So basically, he ended up, to me, it seems like he had a mental illness, or what we call in our disabled field, attention-seeking behaviors. Like he saw a lot of things wrong with his country, but he attempted to solve them in ways that were so far off the radar that it made no sense to anybody.
It's called being brainwashed in a cult. That's what it's called.
Yeah,
right.
I have a question. Did he make the bombs or buy them?
I think he made them in his little gun shop in Clarence, Illinois.
He made them.
It was called a IUD, and what are those? What does that mean again? An unidentified explosive device.
IED.
IED. Improved explosive device. I think it's something.
Improvised.
No, it's something. It's what Ben said.
Yeah,
the thing is why would you drive 500 miles from southern Illinois to Minneapolis round trip just to blow up a building with no... He said he had no plans to kill anybody, just blow it up in the middle of the night to scare people away. Like, that's faulty thinking. And then have a rental car that was traceable by the feds.
Yeah, that's kind of pointless. That has nothing to do with immigration or any kind of law. He's just vandalizing property.
Right, and then him and his friends also blew up part of a health service area in Champaign, Illinois that was processing abortions. So he wasn't just attacking foreigners, he was against, he was your state-of-the-art conservative who didn't like abortion and thought he'd blow something up to prove it.
Well, people do that all the time, especially in the Middle East. Chances
well, maybe
are
Don does have a point that I won't bring up the race card tonight, but it does seem like certain elements of the white race are rather screwed up.
Well, look at the odds, though. In 300 and how many million people live here? 330 million people. You have one screwed up person in the news cycle every now and then. But some of the atrocities that aren't reported from maybe some of the worst areas in Mexico or the South America or the Middle East happen every single day.
Like every day where there's drug cartels killing people left and right?
Every single day there's an atrocity that would make you throw up if you saw that in person. But we get hung up on one crazy guy that does something stupid here, and then we blame the entire race.
Well, that is a good point, because I remember about 3 or 4 years ago in Juarez, Mexico, right across the border from Texas, there were like 70 people killed in 6 months over drug wars.
Yeah,
and half
a lot
of
of them were public display.
Right, and some of them were just bystanders, like they weren't even involved in the drug war.
Well, check this out. What you're talking about, yes, every day there's all those people getting killed, right? And check this out. There's terrorists that kill people all the time. Every day. It happens in Africa, Somalia, and other countries too. But when it happens in specific areas, target, let's just say like France, or like in Paris, or something where the American mainstream media, they will post it. They will post that. But if it happens in Somalia, right? I mean, they're not going to post that. They don't care what happens in Somalia. They want to post specific places where it's happening.
Well, I remember a college was shot up in somewhere in Kenya, and they posted that a couple of years ago. Like some group went in there and tried to hold students hostage, and the students had to fight back. It was near Nairobi. But I just want to tell you two more.
Within the U.S. government,
I want to tell you guys two more things about that case, but go ahead, Ben.
If the U.S. government has interest over there, they'll post it up in the mainstream media.
Well, a lot of times, Albert, like in places like Sudan and South Sudan, where there's a civil war, there's not enough room in the media to cover horrible things that happen there every day. Like the UN not being able to get to the... Yeah.
You got to get past Stormy Daniels to make it to the news now. Like something that's happening right now is the South American white genocide. Not one news station is going to cover that. Why? Because that doesn't fit their narrative. Whites can't be the oppressor if the news story is the genocide on white people in South America.
So are South Americans killing like old Nazis or all the Germans that relocated there, or what?
No, there is no Nazis there. That's just mostly farming families that are being murdered for the land.
Are you serious?
And nobody's... Well, look it up. I mean, the news won't cover it, but you can find it if you know what you're looking for. That's just an example of something that's happening that's not worthy of the news making money off of it to show you.
Well, I will look it up because I know I have studied quite a bit about Brazil, and there was in Brazil, in certain parts of Brazil, not just in Rio de Janeiro, but in Recife and São Paulo, there used to be a white ruling class there of farmers.
Yeah, well, the Brazil government made it possible for all the gasoline stations to have ethanol, so it gives you more options at the pump.
Yeah, and they had biodiesel before we ever even heard of it. Some of their processes.
You mean like turning corn into oil? I mean into gas?
Biodiesel was more algae.
I just wanted to mention one more thing, and then we're going to ask Albert if he's willing to talk about his run-in with recent authorities on campus. Would you be willing to talk about that, Albert?
No, I'm not prepared. I'm not prepared to talk about it.
Okay, then I'm just going to bring this last thing up about Michael Harry. The other thing I wanted to mention to you guys is that the federal government has these 3 men in custody for blowing up the mosque, they won't reveal to the media, the state of Illinois, or anybody down by Clarence, Illinois, where they're housing these 3 men while they await trial after their arraignment. They won't reveal to anybody where they're housed. Do you think it's because they're scared of some kind of retribution?
Yeah.
Well, I just thought that was interesting. And then the last fact I wanted to bring up is Michael Harry. He enlisted a 22 and a 29-year-old to help him, and he offered to pay them $18,000 apiece for helping him blow this mosque up. But I don't think he ever paid these guys out, the guys he brought with him.
Which is why he probably was outed, or I don't know about the Harry case too much, but we've got our federal government, our DOJ, our FBI. We've got to get these people doing their job. This is really sad. We've had the
well,
FBI.
somebody tipped the feds off about this guy, that he was the one behind the abortion clinic bombing too.
Well, there are great numbers of police who wear either the Ku Klux Klan or the Nazi sign under their uniform. So these, this is something that's bigger than us. And Michael Harry is just, he's just more or less like everyone else. He's collateral damage. He's just somebody who's being used as a puppet, and all the other people who they take care of.
No, he had his own cute little militia organization called the White Rabbit. He was nobody's pawn. He was his own person.
Okay,
you can even find his videos on YouTube. He had his own creative ideas, and he created that organization. Nobody forced him into it.
No, but he still gets his ideas from some other person. He can't have that. Nobody wants to grow up and then plan their life, their careers out to mosque. You have to have something, and that's just an example. It could be anything. You have to have a catalyst, a character, and a catalyst in order to put some of these ideas. You just mentioned he went to a Mennonite retreat. There you go. There's all kinds of things that are going on.
Well, you're right. He didn't join that German Baptist organization until 2000, but he obviously had extreme ideas motivating him, for lack of a better description.
Right. And in essence, they were his bosses, an idol that to take action to emulate his boss-like. So, these people have they perceive themselves as bosses. I know that's why I have such central ideas, because I don't really prescribe to having a boss. I'm my own boss. Just like you said, there's nobody who sways me, can sway me. So, I understand the concept of being enslaved by the boss, by the man, by your job, and that's what it started out to be in terms of how you have to defer to somebody else. If you don't have a free mind, none of this is real. Like I said, just figure it out. Jesus Christ is black. Period. So when people get
John, we already discussed this before the show.
I was gonna say, then I may.
Don't throw your radical race card ideas in.
That's all right. Just find me where.
Okay, I have a question for Ben. I have a question for Ben and Albert, John, and to you to a lesser degree. Earlier in the show, Ben asked me what cause am I most upset about. Well, I have a question for you three. If you were to create your own organization that put forth a certain number of principles, what would be your organization and what would be the mantra?
Okay, well, let me show you this way. Okay, you know how, right now, when they make decisions, right, they're bringing the senators, of every 50 states, and, when they make decisions, there's not a lot of people there making decisions, and, you vote, and check this out, okay, I know, every city has a mayor, and at least the mayor is rather than the senator, the state senator or whatever, is kind of the governor. It's they're kind of maybe hard to reach, probably far away, but the mayors are more easy to reach. You can actually talk to them and shake their hands in most cases, but you can actually how you seen those big football stadiums, around, with this gowns, they could see downs the people. I mean, why can't the president's house or something like that have a football stadium where they could see thousands of, let's just say, many thousands of mayors and every seat has like a button where they can vote yes or no, whatever. And they can have meetings where
I'm not exactly sure what you're trying to say.
A large amount of people to vote in the House, but this House.
Well,
is like
a lot of mayors only have a city council, like with 7 people on it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but I'm talking about the national vote. When the big country vote. When the president's there and they're trying to vote on something big, and they got all this, the state governors are there to vote. Like say like that one time when they were voting to attack Iraq, right? And like Bernie Sanders, like he was one of the governors, right? He was one of the senators. Right? He said no. And Hillary Clinton, she was one of the governors too, one of the senators, I think of New York at the time or something like that, and she said yes. For attacking Iraq. But they were basically, just like you said, all the governors. It's like only 50 people. That's not a lot of people to vote on something. So, they can get a bigger voting house, like a football stadium, and get all the.
So why don't you have Ben or Don come on what you just said? Because I don't really understand it.
Well, that's a smart idea. Having mayors vote on national issues is even more localized representation. So I see where you're going with that. The mayors always report to the representatives and to the governor anyway, but that doesn't mean they're going to vote for the citizens where the mayors come from. So it's all about influence and lobbying.
Exactly. Yes, and I think the mayors are, having a lot of. Sure, there's, there's a lot of cities, and there would be a lot of mayors, of course. But that's what I'm talking about. Having a big, like a big style stadium, like a football style stadium, where you can seat a lot of people, and you can have a lot of people vote. And sure, they'll probably come once a year, twice a year to come over and do the big vote thing. But if your local mayor represented you nationally, I think that would really, really affect the national vote, and people will be more confident about it. Because if you have somebody that you literally shook hands with and talked to face to face, and he's up there voting for you, you're going to have more confidence.
Mm-hmm.
But at that point, say you have a mayor that doesn't represent your views at all. Why not just open it up to a national scale? Every citizen gets a yes or no.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing about it, because you can't, like, say if they made everybody vote on everything every time, they would have to every month you'll get like in the mail to vote on something. There'll be, and the paper would be large, right? There'll be like thousands of things to vote on. People. And average normal people would not have time to read all of that and to vote for a shitload of things,
That's probably exactly why the omnibus bill doesn't show Democrat versus Republican in the votes, because half of them didn't read it. I bet most of them, I don't think any of them read the whole thing before they voted. It's thousands of pages.
No, average people are, your average American, they're working 40 hours a week or more, maybe 2 jobs, and they're going to school and stuff like that, taking care of their family, They got to take their kids to soccer practice, maybe take a class at college, and maybe work 1 or 2 jobs. They're just so busy. The average Americans are really busy people. And they don't have time to be reading all that shit. That's the problem.
But they might have time to vote where their tax money goes. So if you sent them all of that at tax time and they got to choose where their tax money goes, I guarantee you they're going to choose things that most pertain to their life. They're not going to send a bunch of money overseas. If you give the power of paying taxes 100% to the citizen, they're going to pay for the taxes that benefit themselves. They're not going to send any money elsewhere.
Yeah. And here's the thing, too, because
it would take time.
And here's the thing too, because I know they televise some of the voting when they have the state senators up there and the president, and they do televise that, and I've seen that on television on a special channel. But not a lot of, I know not a lot of people watch that. It's not really big. But of course, if, like I said, if they had a big, like a football field, and they had all the mayors, which is a lot of mayors, but a lot of mayors there, and they were all voting, they were all there to vote in person, and they're all there. I bet a lot of people would watch that more on television for sure.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea, actually. They do have the governors' conferences annually, and they bring all the governors, the governors and the mayors. They've got a mayor's conference, too, nationally. But that's not a bad idea, just having them on the football field in the middle of January in Chicago's, Soldier Field, and just see them chill and vote. They'll be voting incorrectly because they'll be raising their hands to move around. But that's still not a bad idea.
Exactly. It's always more important.
But what Ben said was interesting. What was that you said? Refresh my memory again real quick. You just said it.
I had this tax idea years ago, and I actually called. Do you guys remember Alan Combs' radio show?
Yeah, you brought it up last week.
Well, okay, so I told him this tax plan. If every voter or every citizen that has a tax ID number that pays taxes got a slip back where they got to mark off wherever they want their taxes to go, whether it be education, military, it would be a long list of things that the government pays for. But if they got to mark the boxes where their own tax money goes, then they would be 100% in control of paying their taxes. That would be voluntary. As it is right now, they just take it from you and then they waste it. And people are angry all across the country right now.
You can go to jail if you don't pay your taxes too.
Well,
but you're not paying them.
They're not wasting it per se, Ben. There's a lot of graft, corruption, all of that going on. But they're still putting together some projects.
Well, check this out. At least in Italy, when you get your check in the mail, and your check right here in America, it just shows you like your net pay and how much you're paying to the government, but it doesn't show you where each one is going. It just basically, well, the one in Italy, it's more specific. It tells you exactly like how much is going for the military and how much is going for the for medical, blah blah blah. For police and ambulance. It's a lot more detailed. It gives you by percentages and gives you better, so you know exactly where it's going. When you get your checks right here, it just tells you like net pay, gross pay. You know what I mean? It doesn't. You have to manually go on the internet and see where your tax is going for yourself. You got to do that hard research, and that research is not that easy to do because some of the websites can give you different information. So you got to find out where the right place to go. But I think that's bullshit. I mean, at least we should know what we're paying exactly in our taxes, and when we get our paycheck every time,
Right, but I've learned a problem with my idea. I thought it was the best idea I had ever heard, to be able to be in control of where your taxes go. And my theory was that education would have the most money because it's the one thing that everybody can agree upon. Whether you're old and retiring or young and raising a family or even in school at the time, everybody's going to agree that education would be the one thing you put your money in. But the problem with my idea is if every taxpayer was in control 100% of where our funding goes, we would always be in a delay. If war ever broke out, then people would start putting money into military. It would be too late.
Well, that's why I think the.
So you're answering your own question, man.
Yeah, that's why my idea wouldn't work.
Nope. But
because
that's
not enough people would pay for military.
So what did Sean Combs say about it?
He gave us
What's his name?
Combs.
It's not Puffy Combs.
Alan Combs. He
I
said that
Sean Combs.
he blew
what
off.
Did he say about
he
it?
He blew off my idea because he said that would be so complicated that nobody would actually take the time to do it. And I said that doesn't matter, because if you don't do anything, then your portion would be equally distributed on all of the subjects. I said that wouldn't matter if you don't take the time. Then it would be distributed on all of the boxes, and it wouldn't matter if you did it or not. The ones that would really matter are the principled people who would, like, say the retired Marine, maybe all of their money into military spending. But the people who are teaching or raising kids would probably put a lot into healthcare and a lot into education.
Yeah, certain people in certain studies, like the lawyers, wouldn't have any trouble reading that stuff, and they'd be able to fill it out really quick, you know. The
thing about that is that you should have some kind of caps as to how low you can give to any particular organization or agency or tax. You should have a cap, but that's not a bad idea.
Yeah. Well, there's another idea. I mean, it's been catching on already. It's called the universal basic income. And the universal basic income, now, before you guys get into that, let me tell you that, of course, more people are losing more jobs by robots, right? Robots are taking more jobs, more than you think. And the semi-trucks, even in doctors, there's computers that are diagnosing people's illness and whatnot. And the list goes on, even for, a lot of different places. You'd be surprised on where people can lose their jobs by
they've got
robots.
They've got dairy farms that are fully automated. You can
exactly.
Our milk.
And here's the thing, okay? Because like right here in the United States, I can bet you any part of the country, I can bet you that there's more people looking for jobs than the jobs are looking for people. You know what I mean? There's more people looking for jobs than there are jobs, and that's anywhere in the U.S. Some places are worse than others, and some are not too bad. I mean, here in Southern California, especially in Los Angeles, there's a lot of people looking for jobs and just not a lot. So a lot of people are left with no jobs.
Move up here.
And in certain parts of the U.S., it's slowly but surely it's getting even worse all over the world too. And so that's why I believe in the universal basic income, because right now a lot of people may talk bad about it, but once it comes, a couple of years later, when robots start taking almost all the jobs, guess what? Universal basic income is people are gonna start accepting it even more.
But that's slavery. That is completely slavery. I mean, they don't pay you enough to have freedom. They pay you enough to eat.
Well, at this point, it's different. Right now, it's just a test. I mean, like they're planning on doing it. I think it's in Los Angeles. I can't remember. They're right here in Southern California. They're planning, but just on giving $400 a month. But that's the added bonus because people can still work. And a lot of the studies that they're doing right now, they're allowing people to work and get some money. So they get $400 in their pocket, and they can still work and get, boost up their money whatever they do in their work. So that's just
right, but that's not fair.
But
that's not fair to this.
That is straight up socialism.
Yeah, it is.
It's straight.
Yeah. Well, they're only giving it to the poorest people right now, like to the poorest people, and of course, it's based for the poorest people anyway.
Welfare.
To try to help the poorest people to climb up the ladder, because it's just extra money to help the poorest people to move up in their socioeconomic abilities. Yeah.
But that's the problem, though, is that it doesn't benefit the people that have been busting their ass trying not to lose their house, and it's actually their dollars that are going to the people that haven't been working as much as they have. Well, I mean, there's people that have kept their houses through through the recession who were on the verge of being homeless, but they're paying these people
now, because our right now, like Social Security and like Medi-Cal, say if you get a job, like let's just say you got Medi-Cal right now, right? Let's just say you got Medi-Cal that pays for your medicine and doctors, and then you got Social Security because like say your Social Security is like helping to pay your rent or whatever, right? And and there's also Section 8 program that helps you pay your rent and whatnot, other programs. But anyways, if you all of a sudden if you get a job that pays you too much money, your job, you lose your Medi-Cal, you lose your Social Security, you can also lose Section 8 because your job can be paying you too much money, and you can lose all of that. And so that incents people. That puts a mindset of people not to find a job that pays too much. And so some people don't even want to move up move up the ladder and getting more money from their jobs because they can lose their Medi-Cal. They don't want to lose their Medi-Cal. They don't want to make too much money at work. And so that's the problem. And that's why I believe and the universal basic income, because it doesn't do that. It doesn't take money away from you if you make more money from your job. It's just there to boost you. To boost you up to get up there, So it incentivizes people to work hard and move up the ladder, and they don't have to worry about losing that, Versus the Medi-Cal and Social Security, like I said, you could lose it if you make too much money.
So does that eliminate the eligibility for the EBT card? If you accept the $400 a month, do you lose your EBT, or do you get that too?
Yeah.
I think you lose it too.
Well, that's separate. That is a separate. But I'm talking about EBT too. If you make too much money, you also lose EBT. But for universal basic income, it doesn't combine with these other programs. It's supposed to replace these other programs, so it doesn't combine with it. So yeah, I guess if it replaces it, then it would. Obviously, if you're going to get that, then you won't need this.
Huh. Well, it's kind of a do nothing. It seems like a nothing, because whether you're on food stamps or other kinds of federal assistance, why would you replace that with cash if somebody's in need? Obviously, if people are in need, the chances are that they have irresponsible spending skills or habits. So why would you replace food with cash to the population highest at risk for addiction?
Right. Well, let me tell you something about the EBT card, because you can't buy cat food or dog food with the EBT card, and you can't buy toilet paper with the EBT card. And that's something you actually need. You can't. There's a lot of stuff that you can't buy. You cannot buy with the EBT card that you use every day in your house. And so it's really strict. It's really strict to food. It literally is. So,
but it's not strict to health. It is definitely not strict to healthy food. You can buy whatever soda, candy, as long as it's food.
Yeah, exactly. As long as it's food, and of course you can't buy alcohol. I'm pretty sure you can't buy alcohol if I remember correctly, but yeah, you can't buy a toothbrush, toilet paper, let's just say, what a lot of stuff you use at your house. I can just go on. I can't remember all the household products, but yeah.
Right. But you can save enough money to be able to buy those. If you use an EBT card, you're saving hundreds of dollars maybe every week, depending on how big your family is. You could save hundreds of dollars a week.
Well, when I was getting EBT cards, at the time when I was getting it, they started me out with $200 a month, but then they took away because I guess I didn't pay some taxes, and I made some money from work previously. So they only would give me like $180 a month, and then And so the EBT card, but that was back then. But now I'm not getting it now because the new rules for the EBT card, what they are now, or what they've been last year before. But I can't remember when they changed. I think they changed like 2 years ago, or like two or 3 years ago. They changed the rules. But here's what the rules are, right? If you have to be working to have EBT card, and you cannot be going to school. Like if you're going to school, and you're not working, then you will not be qualified to get the EBT card. And that was the thing for me, that I was busy going to school and I was not working. I said, of course I'm not working because I'm busy going to school, and I was not approved for the EBT card. So if I want the EBT card, I had to stop going to school and start working, and then I will be approved to get the EBT card.
Right. Well, that's the problem. There's not enough money to pay for everybody that needs a hand. And that's where they're trying to change regulations, trying to make regulations more strict so less people can get approved, so it doesn't cost so much tax money. Because pretty soon people will just quit working, and then they'll have no tax money to give anybody. If it's not worth it to go to work every day, people won't, because it sucks breaking rocks all day, or digging a ditch, or building a house. It's stupid. If you can profit more by staying home, why would you even go there and risk your life every single day?
Right. Well, just like I said, like a lot of the programs, they cut you off if you make too much money, and at least at principle, the universal basic income is there to boost you forever. Even if you start making more money and they just continue giving it to you, so that it sends people to try harder and try to make more money. You know what I mean? And I think that's important for people to try hard in their life.
Just wait, because pretty soon there will be a chip put in your hand if you want that money.
Oh yeah, that'll be in the future. But of course, and of course in the near future, like in 2050, like 20, 30, 40 years later, I mean, once all robots take all our jobs, we're going to have universal basic income whether we want it or not, because we won't have no choice if all the robots take our jobs. So, eventually we'll get it anyways.
I think there's a lot of jobs robots can't do, such as managing robots.
Right. Well, I advise you. I looked up some YouTube videos on it, and I was surprised myself when I was seeing what type of jobs our artificial intelligence were taking now, and what types they could take. It was really surprising what type of jobs they were taking. When I saw that video and I learned about that kind of stuff, at that point I told myself, wow, it looks like in the future those robots can take every job.
Yeah, well, there's already a robot that can spray on a yacht. Within, you can calibrate how many mils of paint it can put on, and it'll just spray the whole thing. It'll go back and forth and spray a perfect paint job because it can tell how much it's laying down. But the robot's pretty expensive, and a lot of people actually want an expert human to do the job. They don't want a mass-produced thing. But the automotive industry, of course, they don't have a painter paint every single car.
Right. Well, in surgery, they're using robots in surgery because they could say their precision of doing surgery is like less than a millimeter, versus like humans they'd be off by like 4 or 5 millimeters or so. So the robots are more precision, and they're working more precision in the operating table.
You guys?
Well,
we've been going 2 hours and 15 minutes, and I got sidetracked with a Stormy Daniels story. So how much longer do you want to go? Because I'm getting a headache.
Oh, okay. I'm good then.
Did you get the headache from me?
No, but I just got a headache from reading too much. It says that Stormy Daniels was offered. She was going to sell her story for $15,000 to In Touch Weekly back in 2011, but it never came out though. And then this man in Vegas approached her outside a fitness class in Vegas and told her to leave Trump alone, and it would be a shame if she was carrying her baby, and the guy said it would be a shame if something would happen to her mom, meaning her. So after that, she ducked below the radar and signed the contract for her own public safety.
I don't believe it.
So, well, Ben's kind of right. The Stormy Daniels thing has been haunting the news quite a bit. But that's because Anderson Cooper interviewed her tonight on 60 Minutes.
Yeah, he's blown his cover. He's a deep state operator, and I don't care what he does.
Anderson Cooper?
So, yeah, I'm done with him. I'm done with all of them. CNN sucks. MSNBC
what do people
is blown.
mean by the deep state? Because that Michael B. Harry also used that in his Rabbit Militia video, something about the deep state.
No, screw you, man. There's got a bunch of CIA people working there.
It's really hard to explain it to somebody who wants it explained to them. I mean, if you don't know
okay,
about...
does it mean like there's a secret, dark group of people running the country and you have to submit to their will?
Pretty much.
Don,
it's
are you
real.
still on the line?
I don't think so.
Yeah, he's probably driving.
Okay, well, anyways, do you guys want to do a conclusion? Because I don't have to get up too early, but I just have a headache and I can't do the show any longer.
Gotcha. I'm good. No conclusion here necessary. I like to speak late. Maybe I like to talk about the Uber drivers because there's been a lot of word on Uber drivers are making less than minimum wage because a lot of Uber drivers in a lot of areas are getting, are paid even less than they were before. And I think like
well, we should have done that when Don was on the show because he is an Uber driver.
Yeah, I know, but I've been seeing that a lot on the news lately. So I like next time I like to talk about it and see what Don has to say, and
about
how much
what?
money he makes for Uber driving.
Don, are you being paid less than minimum wage as a Uber driver?
How do you say hell no? I guess I make killing the street. It's probably 4 or 5 hours of work. I can probably make about anywhere from 80 to 150 bucks a day.
You mean like is it 20 cents a mile, or where you're at, or where you live at? Do you get paid 20 cents a mile, or how much?
Something like that. No, it's not 20 cents. It's more than that. But it is much more lucrative than a lot of other jobs that I've had.
Oh, okay. Because in other areas, I heard that they were getting paid 20 cents a mile, which is kind of low, and
right.
it was just hard for them to actually, to boost up. They said they have to work like 60 or 70 hours a week just just to make at least like $1,500 or a month,
Right. Well, that some people do. What's happening is that they don't work smart; they work hard. And when you got trims and sections and territories and things like that that you can traverse, then you have an opportunity to go to the right places at the right times for the right kind of clients, and you make more for those rides than you can if you're just running around or just sitting at a particular spot. Because sitting is, if time is money, sitting is, for me anyway, that I found out is one of the biggest wastes of money you can have.
And here's the thing, like, how many miles per gallon does your car get?
See, now, I have special situation because I own a Prius. That's the only car that I would recommend anybody having anywhere. As I said, when I went to Europe.
Well, here's the problem with the Prius, though. Let me mention here, because the more you drive the Prius, the more you drive the Toyota Prius, lately more than often, you're gonna have to be spending money to fix and replace parts on that car. And the pay that you get from Uber, they don't really cover the cost of what it takes to repair your car. So if you end up having to repair your car very often, you're gonna spend more money repairing your car than you get from Uber.
That's the whole point. That's exactly what I'm talking about, Albert. This Prius, and cars, this Prius doesn't break. Period. Nothing breaks on the Prius. All you have to do is change your tires, your windshield wipers, and get the oil changed, and that's it. Otherwise, this car, I just had to put a battery in it, a regular battery, not a big battery, but I just had to put a battery in it, and that's it. I've got 116,000 miles on it almost, and it's three years old. So this car is one of the most. This is my.
I don't know, man.
The most trusting car I've ever had, and I've got 1 million cars.
What year around here? I see tons of Priuses getting towed.
You've seen tons of Priuses what?
What year? Tons of Priuses getting towed.
Well, I don't know what they're getting towed for because this car, I went through a lake in this car, and it still kept running because when it's running on electric, all the components are enclosed, so you don't have to worry about. And I didn't have to worry about it not moving. And I went through a flood up to my door handle, well above my hood, or right around my hood, and nothing. I mean, I was right through it.
So, what year is the car? What year is the car?
15. I've got 2015.
Well, it's a 2015.
Hey, Ben, Don and Ben.
It's a 2015. Wait till it gets a couple more years old. Just wait.
That's fine.
Just wait.
You'll see 1 million 2007 Priuses on the road.
Hey, I have a suggestion.
They use
Don?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm picking up you in Reno, and we're driving to see Ben this summer. He's going to have to blow his cover. Ben, my friend from Grants Pass, Oregon, her son moved to Port Angeles, Washington, right by you. I said the wrong city the last time I was on the air. You know where that is, Ben, don't you?
Yeah, I know. I've done a lot of jobs up there.
You have? We won't blow your cover unless you want us to visit, but if we get rich enough and can take 2 weeks off, we might come and visit you for a day. In Don's Prius.
My Prius will go anywhere. My Prius will go anywhere in the country.
That'd be an
we have to pry
ride.
Don away from his wife too. I have to get that approval first.
No. She'll be more than happy to kick me out for a couple of months.
She will? Okay, well, we'll be up there sometime this summer.
We've been married
I got
4 years,
something.
We're
going to be called
a BLM meeting.
the Black Turtle. We're going to be the Black Turtle Militia coming to visit you instead of the White Rabbit.
Oh man,
that's not even.
Just tell them you're joining the new Black Panthers party.
Okay.
Well,
I'll be
guess what,
Angela
guys?
Bassett.
So
Guess
we'll
what?
have to work that in. We'll have to work that in slowly with the movie.
Okay. All right, you guys, I'm gonna go now. You guys can wrap the show up for me. My head is spinning.
Well, I'm getting ready to pick up another ride. So, for the most part, I'll say a conclusion if you want, because the taxes, that thing bothered me from day one, and now that we've got the omnibus bill, what I was trying to say is that Donald Trump used to be a Democrat, right? So he's playing both sides against the middle, and everybody again has to be vigilant of what is going on around them, especially locally, because these will be trickle down policies. So everybody's going to get affected at one point or another. But I'm going to be feeling so sorry for my white brothers, because they're going to be so mad when they have to start buying houses next to some group that they don't like. And
yeah, I've already felt the repercussions. Just in a couple days, my stocks have gone down below zero. I was giving them a chance, but they've been going down. And as soon as that omnibus bill hit the news cycle, my stocks went down below my 0 point. So I have no surplus anymore.
Over 1,400 points have tanked in the last week.
Right.
All right, so now it's cutting into my money that I put in. I was plus,
That's
now
terrible.
I'm minus.
And tomorrow,
I did think about you, Ben, this week when they mentioned that.
And tomorrow, the futures are already at 312 points. So we're looking at the Monday being maybe an atrocious tomorrow for stockholders. I know my portfolio has been hit too, but I made it went up so high that I still got a little bit of room. But anyway, I just wanted to say that Dave Zitwin,